I don't know what this website is, nationaldefensemagazine.org. I don't say that to impugn their honor, just as an important, take it for what it is. It's a really interesting story that's going to feed into the to the bigger story that I want to talk about. They say the Pentagon could put directed energy weapons in space. Do you know what a directed energy weapon is? The easiest way to, the simplest form would be microwave gun, okay, or a laser, right? So the military has these big lasers. They're infrared, and they heat things up, and boom, they can blow them up. So I saw this story. I thought it was really interesting. Now, I don't care too much about putting gigantic death lasers in outer space. It's an interesting story, and we have this a 1984 artist's concept of a ground-to-space-based hybrid laser weapon. And they say, while much attention has been focused on renewed U.S. interest in potentially deploying space-based interceptors, another concept that emerged from President Ronald Reagan's Strategic Defense Initiative in the 1980s is also being re-examined, putting lasers or neutral particle beams in space to shoot down enemy missiles. Directed energy, to me, is where we're going to go in the long run, Undersecretary of Defense for Research and Engineering Mike Griffin said in September during a roundtable on Capitol Hill. We'll be pushing advances in directed energy forward for the next few years. They say Donald Trump's fiscal year 2020 budget requested for the Missile Defense Agency includes $304 million for technology maturation initiatives involving these types of technologies. Working with national laboratories and industry, MDA will address laser scaling by investing in the laser component technology required to demonstrate efficient electrical lasers. Budget document said the agency plans to conduct component demonstrations to prove out laser capability. Now, again, I'm not familiar with this magazine. I haven't checked them out before. I'm not saying that to say they're bad or anything. It's just, I don't know. I did a Google search and this is what popped up. But here's the thing. The bigger story here is this guy. Fighter jets equipped with anti-missile lasers could take another step toward reality after Air Force shoots down multiple targets in latest successful tests. I love the idea of directed energy weapons, just because it's sci-fi and futuristic. It's really funny. I was reading something, I can't remember what it was, but they said, humans have always thrown rocks at people. Seriously. The first thing we did was we literally threw a rock. Then we figured out the sling. You put the rock in it, you swing it, and then whip it, and boom, you can throw the rock even harder. Then we figured out bow and arrow, which is essentially putting a rock on a piece of wood and launching the rock at somebody. And now we have guns, which I know it's silly, but they say we've successfully figured out precision and piercing and a bunch of other variations of launching rocks at people. I get it. Bullets are made of lead, metal, whatever. It's a joke, though. All of our weapons are really about forcing a solid mass towards you at a high rate of speed. But this marks something entirely different. Direct energy weapons, blasting you with radiation or a laser to just burn through you or something else. This is a step up. Now, of course, there's other kinds of weapons. I was just being silly, right? We have tasers. You can electrocute people. That's an energy weapon. But directed energy weapons have some really, really awesome iterations, I guess. And one of the most interesting that's always been fascinating to me is the laser-induced plasma channel. A laser-induced plasma channel, LIPC, is formed by the following process. A laser emits a laser beam into the air. The laser beam rapidly heats and ionizes surrounding gases to form plasma. The plasma forms an electrically conductive plasma channel. Amazing. Because a laser-induced plasma channel relies on ionization, gas must exist between the electro-laser weapon and its target. If a laser beam is intense enough, the electromagnetic field is strong enough to rip electrons off of air molecules or whatever gas happens to be in between them, creating plasma. Similar to lightning, the rapid heating also creates a sonic boom. Uses! This is where it gets fun. To kill or incapacitate a living target through electric shock. What this is, and you should look it up because there's some secret images. It's essentially a gigantic lightning bolt cannon. My buddy told me about this years ago because he did work in hacker stuff and some government security programs. And he's like, basically what it does is when you heat the air, it creates a path that electricity can travel through. Because electricity follows the path of least resistance for the most part. If you took a big, electrode and activated, it would just strike, the current would hit the ground. It would just path of least resistance. But the plasma channel makes the path of least resistance your target. So you quite literally can kill or incapacitate through electric shock, seriously damage, disable, or destroy any electrical or electronic device. As electro lasers and natural lighting both use plasma channels to conduct electrical current, an electro laser can set up a light-induced plasma channel for use with study lightning during a thunderstorm to make lightning discharge at a safe time and place, controlling lightning by putting a plasma channel in place to guide the lightning where you want it to go. That's amazing. As a weapon, to make a thunderhead deliver a precise lightning strike onto a target from an aircraft. In this case, the aircraft and laser can be compared to a triggered spark gap, in that the relatively minor amount of initial input from the laser allows a large amount of energy to flow between the cloud and the ground. Oh my God. Because of the plasma channel, an electro laser may cause an accident if there's a thunderstorm or other electricity sources, such as an overhead power lines. So there you go, right? Sure. Interesting thought. But here's the thing. We're not doing laser-induced plasma channels just yet. I think Picatinny is the place, the Air Force Base, where they were experimenting with it, and it was discontinued, unfortunately. But I wouldn't be surprised if there was still several programs working on some iteration of the technology, because delivering a massive voltage payload is still, useful for certain circumstances. But here's what's happening now. I've seen a ton of videos of these things over the years. Look at this. Truck-mounted directed energy systems have enjoyed more success shooting down drones in recent test runs by the company Raytheon shown. This is the weapon. A massive amount of power, a massive laser, and it heats something up and then, boom. It damages them, they crash. You gotta recognize something important too. When it comes to rockets and when it comes to airplanes, they're actually rather fragile. There's so many technical components. Damage in one area can shut the whole thing down. Let's read a little bit about this. This class of military device weaponizes frequencies like microwaves for both offensive and defensive purposes. Think a mounted satellite that can fry hardware in trucks, cars, and other vehicles. This critical demonstration shows that our directed energy systems are on track to become a game changer for our warfighters, said Dr. Kelly Hammett, director of AFRL's Directed Energy Directorate. Similar technology mounted on ground vehicles has already been tested successfully, staving off various types and sizes of drones. The high-powered microwave laser is being developed by Raytheon and can identify, track, and disable adversarial drones. For directed energy technology focused on defending against missiles, however, progress has been less forthcoming. Unlike with drones, anti-missile tech, which the Air Force hopes will be able to guard against ground-to-air and air-to-air missiles, has the added responsibility of targeting and stopping an object that in some cases can travel up to or even faster than the speed of sound. While the military hopes to be able to attach the technology to aircraft, giving fighter pilots a much-needed tool to defend themselves against enemies, one major barrier has been building the system small enough to fit on planes. Big challenge. You need a ton of juice for this. An experimental chemical laser system being deployed and explored by the U.S. Air Force was decommissioned in 2012. That's a bummer. Though the laser mounted on a Boeing 747 successfully shot down a missile for the first time ever, severe limitations in cost and ability eventually led to the project's demise. According to a report from The Verge, the system's range was restrictive. In order to shoot down a missile launched from Iran, the plane and laser would have to be within the country's borders. Wow, that sucks. From here, the Air Force says it will look to reduce the size and weight of its system with the hopes of attaching it to a plane. So far, the technology has been better suited for giant warships due to its size restrictions. The final shield system, however, will be much smaller and lighter, as well as ruggedized for an airborne environment, said the Air Force in a statement. Is that the end of the story? Okay. So here's some important, here's why this is great. Right now in Israel, they have what's called the Iron Dome defense system. They've also launched something similar in South Korea, which I can't remember what it's called. TAPS or something, or THAAD. I think it's called THAAD. And what these systems do is they actually track a rocket and then fire another rocket to intercept it. And they're actually pretty good at this, but they can fail. The idea would be If we can successfully shoot down in short range missiles for areas like Israel or South Korea, these might be really great if that can work out. Not a scientist, okay? Or at least in this capacity, I'm not a weapons manufacturer, so maybe I'm wrong. But I imagine this would be more effective because all it has to do is, basically point the energy at the missile to take it out. Whereas with the Iron Dome, you got a rocket, you've got to intercept that rocket, you got to know where it's going. And so maybe it doesn't work, maybe it misses, it's very precise. This is kind of like, point and shoot. Anyway, there are a bunch of other directed energy weapons. I was exploring a documentary with a company that was going to dazzle me. A Dazzler is a laser that blinds you for like 30 seconds, and I was heavily advised against doing it because they said, don't screw with your eyes, don't do it, man. I was like, all right. But we were looking at some weapons expos, and there's more than just blowing a plane up. There's a thing. So the Dazzler is a powerful laser that can shine in your eyes, and I was told by some people they use these overseas in the Middle East at checkpoints. They'll flash the high-powered laser in your eyes so you can't do anything, and that allows them to maintain security. So anyway, I always like doing some fun tech and science videos periodically because whenever I'll tell you what, you have no idea how much news I read, and I read a lot more than just politics and culture. So when I see a cool story, sometimes, but I'm going to try and do more stuff like this because, I did a video about Apophis, the giant meteor crashing into Earth, just a couple days ago. So I am definitely trying to make sure that I can tackle science and cool stories like this when they make sense. Because let me just say, in reality, this channel is just about things that I find interesting. And sometimes it's good to stop thinking about politics and think about cool things, although there's political implications. But I'll leave it there. Thanks for hanging out. I will see you all tomorrow at 10 a.m. on this channel. Till next time.